What's going on, everybody? This is Kalen Hurley, your host of the podcast, All the Glitters. Let's start the show. Let's see, first and foremost, if I remember how to do this thing. Been about a month since the last episode. Small hiatus. Took a trip with the family for a little summer vacation. Came back. Had some other business to attend to. Not much going on in the realm of hockey, but since then we've had enough to talk about that today was the perfect opportunity to get caught up. Let's do a little speculation. Let's chat a little VGK, and then we'll go from there. And I think right now we could expect episodes to pick back up maybe once a week right now, and then obviously a little bit more when some news comes through, and more so during the season. But yeah, I hope everybody's had a good summer so far. Went on a trip, unexpected, hadn't been for so long, but we went and took the fam. We went to Legoland. what a treat! It's great. It's a cool little amusement park. I think it's catered perfectly for families. Quite obviously, I think Disneyland sometimes you can get a little mix of those odd little Disney adults. But you know what? 10 out of 10 for small kids. It was nice. The park closes at an appropriate time. They don't gouge you as much as they do at these other amusement parks for food. And you know what? Lines, as far as I think the longest line we waited in was about an hour. And that was like day one, ride one, which might have been everybody's thought process. But other than that, it was awesome. Then, we came in. The news as far as VGK front, there's been a couple of Olympic rosters announced, or at least Olympic camps that people are getting invited to. Obviously, first, the most notable one I think that came out first was Canada, and then now the US had their camp. VGK is looking at having, I believe, 5 players between those two teams. I would assume Sweden, Carlson's going to get invited. But right now, it doesn't seem like your Dorofeevs or Barbashevs are going to be able to compete still, with, Russia being kind of, continually not able to participate. So, let's talk about Canada's roster and VGK involvement. You have Shea Theodore invited, Mark Stone, and, well, I guess now that might be 6, because we have Shea, Mark Stone, Mitch Marner, the newest addition, and Aiden Hill. And, I don't know if it's too controversial. Some of these things are just invitations, first and foremost. So let's not lose our minds with, oh, so-and-so didn't get an invite and they were snubbed, this, that, and the other. You see a lot of the Vegas fan base, kind of losing it a little bit, saying, oh, Logan Thompson didn't get invited. Well, let's just break this down real quick. Logan Thompson is no longer a Golden Knight, so the fact that Vegas fans would be upset is a little bit weird, but hey, you like the player, you follow him, that's cool. I'm always going to be a Marchessault fan, so I understand. Now, 2 of the coaches that are, again, coming back to coach, Pete DeBoer, Bruce Cassidy, are also back to coaching, just like they were at Four Nations. LT did not get invited to Four Nations. There's a reason behind it. Everyone can speculate, but it seems like, and I get it, some people are big fans. Some people are, may know him on a pseudo-personal level. According to the people who have coached him, he has an attitude problem. That might be, the thing he needs to get him to an elite level and play his game. But when the people who have coached you at the top level don't want to deal with it in a small tournament, such as the Olympics, such as Four Nations, you don't get invited unless you're going to be putting up Vezina numbers. Now, we talked about it in a past podcast. Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill, most of the NHL, those are goalies you can win with. They are not goalies you could win because of. You're going to have the games where he pitches shutouts. You're going to have unbelievable saves and flashy things. But that's not the bulk of the data that we have. He's played enough NHL games to know he is a safe, good goaltender. He is not going to be the one who is the reason. He is not Igor Shesterkin. He is not Andrei Vasilevsky. He is not Bobrovsky. He's not Jake Ottinger. These are those goaltenders. He's not Connor Hellebuck in the regular season. These are the goaltenders you win because of, not, you don't just win games with them. If that makes sense. And if it doesn't, listen, I can't explain it to you any other way. It's just how I feel about it. By the way, they're probably not going to see starting time anyway. It's Binnington's job to lose. He just proved it. He won at the biggest level. That's it. He's a Stanley Cup champion. He's now a Four Nations champion. If you think they're not going to ride with Binnington, you're out of your mind. They like his game. They like his grit. And right now, unfortunately, this is going to probably piss people off. Like, Logan Thompson's a poor man's Binnington. Unless he starts, I know he's a Stanley Cup champion, I get that. But unless he starts really putting up phenomenal numbers and doing those things, he's gonna be looked over. And that's that. That is just is what it is. And to be honest, I don't know if Adin Hill stays on that roster either. So for Vegas to be upset that Logan was snubbed, whatever, but let's not talk about players who don't even play for VGK. You know, it was cool to see Adin get nominated. It's cool to see Shea. Hopefully he gets a little bit of redemption. To be honest, to me, I think Thomas Harley and, you know, I have this argument with a buddy of mine. You know, I think with the recency bias of Evan Bouchard, Thomas Harley, and how he stepped in because of the Petro and the Shea injury. And now, you know, obviously Petro's not going to be a part of that team either. I don't know if he sees much ice time. He probably is going to be looked at unless he starts the season like gangbusters like he did last year and he doesn't get injured. He's probably going to be maybe a seventh guy, an odd man out. And, you know, that's okay. Mark Stone's going to be a bottom six winger. But the way he sees the ice and how intelligent and honestly, the chemistry that he seemed to have with Mitch Marner, and then obviously now he might be playing, you know, he's going to be playing a lot more with him, maybe on the power play. You might see him in maybe like a middle six role. I don't know. We'll have to find out and see what kind of game they want to play, and then obviously Mitch Marner is probably going to be in a top six role. Although Team Canada is so stacked, I mean, not every team's stacked, but Team Canada seems to be the most stacked team heading to the Olympics. So, you know, with the likes of, you know, Nathan McKinnon and Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid and all these guys, it's like Mitch Marner is like maybe the fifth or sixth best on that entire roster. It's kind of crazy to think that, you know, he's probably seeing top 6 minutes, but, you know, it's just going to be all the who's playing with who and what their games look like and injuries and all sorts of stuff. So, you know what? The people who got invited to camp, good for them. The people who didn't, they might get invites. The people on the bubble, but let's not lose our minds over a tournament that's happening in February. So who cares? On the U.S. side, you have Jack Eichel, Noah Hanifin. Awesome. That's great. Again, here's the thing. I don't put too much. Obviously, Jack Eichel, Noah Hanifin are probably going to make those rosters. They're probably going to be in the similar roles as they play. I think Jack's probably the 2C behind Austin Matthews. I don't think that that's like controversial to say, but listen, you never know when you have those matchups. He was put right in between between the Tkachuk brothers, and those lines might be matched up against the top line. So it doesn't really matter, especially in these all-star style tournaments when everybody is just the best of the best and best on best hockey. Like, you have lines numbered because that's how they are, but it's really 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D lines. You know what I mean? Like, most of these fourth lines would be top lines in the NHL. So, and you know what? We're going to get that hockey just like we did after Four Nations, where the first couple of regular season games, just like, holy moly, like, I forgot this game isn't played at 1,000 miles an hour and it's not played at the highest level every night. You know, you're going to get stinkers and you get legit fourth liners and things like that. And you're like, oh, okay, I remember this is how hockey looks. So I'm excited to get the regular season. And that's a little bit of the hockey news that has came about in the last few weeks. Obviously there's little signings, you know, things like that. And we'll get into some of them, but you know, it is fun to see meaningful hockey. Like last year was a taste of it. And, you know, it was obviously in the time that the Four Nations tournament came out, things were a little bit tumultuous with USA and Canada, and it kind of, there was two other nations, but they kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, with Finland and Sweden and all that. But this is where it's fun. It's fun. I wish that outside noise didn't matter as much, and we got full best on best with all the nations that could be represented. But that's just simply not the case right now. And maybe the next time that the Olympics come around, and maybe the next time we have World Cup of Hockey, they work something out, and there's peace a lot more everywhere, and we can get some stuff started and some real good best on best hockey. Unfortunately, it looks like we may never see Ovechkin play for Team Russia again. And that is a crime against humanity for some of the people who were born after their last time they were even able to play in the Olympics. And then, there's hockey fans now that have never seen him lace it up for Russia. And then that's unfortunate, but we can't really control the IIHF and things like that. So it is what it is. And then hopefully we're able to see something maybe with the World Cup the next year. It sounded like with Elliot Friedman's last 32 thoughts, Bill Daly was talking about, there's always talks about who's going to be invited. This next one's going to have 8 nations, more of like an invitational. And then maybe 2 years later or the year after. I'm not sure if this is going to be yearly or every 2 years. Sounds like something could happen with some talks with the other nations. And then it'll be more of a play-in tournament rather than an invitational, is what it sounded like. We'll see. Some more things on that 32 Thoughts podcast. Your big 3 unrestricted free agents for next year: Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel, Kirill Kaprizov. None of them have signed yet. Everyone's kind of speculating that McDavid, now that summer is over, they're returning to Edmonton after this depth or this training camp or team invitation for the Olympics, that now that it'll be in person, they'll sit down, they'll get a deal done, maybe first to mid-February, like September, beginning of September, mid-September, we'll see. And Kirill Kaprizov seems like that might get done right after. The speculation was, Jack Eichel, he hasn't signed yet. It sounds like he's kind of waiting to see where the market's set. Now, I think a lot of people automatically say, oh, he's talking about AAV, he's talking about money. I don't know if it's necessarily money. Obviously money's involved, but I think the market being set is, okay, is this next round, this next big contract is I'm either going to take something small, 3 to 5 years, 2 to 4 years, and then try to get paid again and get one more giant contract, or I'm going to try to work out a contract that keeps me set for life, but I'm in place. So I think that's kind of like what he's going to, I think that's the bigger of the two for me. I think, he's just recently just got married. So, he'd had, obviously his stuff tied up in that honeymoon. Then he's got this Olympic camp. I think he'll come sit down and kind of feel out the process as well. I think McDavid probably signs first, but I think that Jack Eichel is going to see what McDavid does, and that's going to dictate. Now, I'm not saying Jack Eichel's looking for McDavid money. I don't think he's thinking that either. I don't think he's looking for Marner money, though. And I was doing some very quick little research and math. Now, when Jack Eichel signed his contract, it was $80 million, so 8 by 10. And it was at 13% of the cap. And this is kind of like a lot of players go by percentage of the cap. So at the time, 13% of the cap, 13 and some change, was his $10 million. Well, the next in most comparable, as far as like statistics and accolades, by the way, he outscores him, and I think he's a much better player. That's not to say I'm poo-pooing on Jack Eichel, so before you get all of your underwear twisted up. So you have Nathan MacKinnon, who I think, again, it's not an argument. Nathan MacKinnon is he's another tier above Eichel. It is what it is. He scores, he facilitates, he is their MVP. He has the hardware to prove it. Now, when he signed his contract, he took just that 15% of the cap. Now, Eichel had 13. McKinnon had 15. What if we split the difference and say, okay, you're due for a raise, obviously. Let's go 13 or 14% of the cap, right in the middle. You're a little bit less than a Nathan McKinnon. You're obviously more than you were before, just based off your play, based off of the steps you've taken, based off you're a Stanley Cup champion, you're a number one center. You, I believe, are the future. Maybe you don't have the captaincy, but I think you're the future of the Golden Knights. We've tried to put another superstar right wing around you to try to, hey, we're dedicated to the future of this team. Let's give you 14%. That's going to be right around 13 million. Now, Frank Saravalli, insider, knows and is more connected than I am for this guy with a $30 microphone in my hand in my garage. He said that, there's rumors and whispers that Eichel might be, looking at 15 million. That's not happening in Vegas. He's not going to get 15 million. If he signs an 8-year deal, he's just not getting $15 million a year. That's just not going to happen. I understand that the cap's rising. Eichel will not sign in Vegas. I don't think he's signing more than 13.5 to 14 million. He's not signing more than 14. It doesn't make sense to put yourself again in this future cap hell when, if you're looking about like young players and people who they think is the future, Shea Theodore, Noah Hannafin, they're in that mid to high sevens. Obviously, a number one centerman who plays both sides of the puck at an elite level needs to be getting more than him. Obviously, a number one right wing who plays both sides of the puck at a very elite level needs to be getting more than them. Mikko Rantanen was his comparable to Mitch Marner. He got the same deal. Eichel right now doesn't have much of a centerman comparison. The comparison that ChatGPT threw out was Sam Reinhart, former teammate, and he's making like 12 something. I think it's 12.6 or 12.9, but I think Eichel deserves more, in a noticeable difference more than Mitch Marner. I think 13 might not get it done, even though that's a $3 million a year raise to him. I think you're looking at 13.5, 14 million tops. Call it good, tidy business. The cap goes up, and I think that it's projected in a few years to be in almost the 120s. It's like, all right, cool. Now we can have some wiggle room. That the contracts that are expiring, not next year, but the year after, are going to be your Mark Stones. Hopefully he could stick around, but at a less, kind of like a John Tavares, like, hey, you know what? You're not going to be making 9.5, but maybe we can get you 7 million. Let me give you 5 times 7. Let's finish out your career night, get you down in AAV, and then, that way we can support this team around us more and more. And, we'll kind of see what happens. I don't think that Jack Eichel's looking to be this, Scrooge McDuck swimming in gold coins villain style contract. His people are like, oh, well, Pat Brassard's his agent. They make up for all of his contracts. He makes up for like 1 point some odd $1 billion in the NHL. It's like, yeah, he didn't get to be an elite agent by trying to screw over teams and trying to work it. He's going to get his player the best deal. But the best deal we've already established doesn't necessarily mean the most money. If you're going to be like slumming it up in Columbus, sorry guys, or you're going to be like in the dregs of insert team here. Oh, you're going to be, here's $1 billion go to Utah. I mean, maybe that's a bad example. They look like they're on the come up, but you got to take in a lot of factors. Hey, do you like living here? Are we giving you a raise? Are we setting you up for more success? Do you, not to say like you're going to get more and more say in the team, but like, You think you don't think like management talks to Sidney Crosby? It's because he's paid his dues. He's been there forever. Not comparing the two, but what I'm saying is the longer you stay, the longer tenure you have, the more of a leader you are, the more that they invest in you, the more you get to at least have a voice and a say in a direction of this team. And I just think that I know that there's a number that Kelly has that he won't let go over. And if he does say let Jack Eichel walk and this is last year, he has a contingency plan, or he will make it as the year comes. I don't think you sign Marner and then let the team fall to shit if you do lose Eichel. So I'm also not worried. I feel like he's going to sign. He's made it very known that he likes to be here. Now, it's not a same thing as a Jonathan Marchessault situation, who also made it known he loved being here. But, 34-year-old Jonathan Marchessault, who had a career year as an outlier with 41 goals, and a Conn Smythe isn't Jack Eichel, who isn't 30 years old, who is going to still continue to rise his game and plays both sides of the puck, and basically has been turned into Vegas's version of Patrice Bergeron with Bruce Cassidy. He loves him. So I just, Vegas's version, not saying it. So before you get all tight-wadded. Listen, I'm not super worried. So, do I think it's going to get done before the season? I'd like to hope it does. That gives us, 2 weeks. It gives us about 8 more weeks of waiting. If it doesn't get done before Christmas, or say, just shortly after maybe trade deadline, then I might get a little bit worried. But I think that the extension is going to come. I think everyone will take a nice deep breath once it does. And I think at the end of the day, Jack Eichel is going to be a Vegas Knight for at least the next 5 years after this year. And I think we can all take a breath. And if that's the case, I think you're going to continue to try to build a team and make it worth his while to be here. And so that way he, A, doesn't regret his decision, and B, that means if Jack's here and playing good and the plan, it's going according to plan, we might get some more cup parades. And that's at the end of the day, as a fan, that's all you really want. I mean, players come and go, and we can always hold them near and dear to our heart, but that's the game. The players are playing for your team when they're playing there. When they're not, you don't have to wish ill will, but you got to let them go. If they move on, whether it's their decision or not, we have to, be okay with that. Move on with them. If you want to boo them when they come home, boo them when they come home. I mean, if you boo them 4 years later on a decision that they didn't make because they wanted a neck surgery, I think you're a loser, but let them happen. Let them do it. And that's really the bottom line. Now, Alexander Holtz off the roster. Didn't take his qualifying offer, so we're moving on now. Holtz is gone. And then Victor Olofsson got signed, Colorado. Making about, I think it was like 1.5. I think Vegas could have done it. I just don't know if they needed to. And I still don't think that they're potentially done. I still think they might make a run at Rasmus Anderson. It just is something. It seems like there's that like it was really, really hot and heavy talks, and then it died off. And I think everyone went to vacation. Maybe they're making handshake deals on the golf course and not talking about it, and they'll see what happens. Maybe there's a bit of tampering going on throughout the NHL. I think obviously once training camps come in and injuries happen and things like that, teams are going to get desperate. You're going to get some names, some veterans who've been waiting in the wings, and someone's going to get signed somewhere that's going to shock someone, or there's going to be a trade made. And, I just don't think Vegas is done quite yet for some reason. I think, you hold on to that couple $1 million they still have left in LTIR cap space, and that, we like flirting with the actual top of the cap. We'll see what happens. But, good on Victor. He didn't quite, I don't know if he proved himself to be back completely, but he's a super useful player. especially on the power play. And when given the right situation and the right chemistry, he plays a very NHL veteran game. I don't know where he's going to fit. He's probably a middle six, maybe third line role. And on the nights where he needs to move up and down the lineup, he has an elite shot, and he could put it in the back of the net. So do I think that that's necessarily Colorado's problem? No, they have like some of the most like devastating offensive world beaters in the NHL. So we'll find out. And it's just very interesting to see. I think Colorado has just gotten just that much more dangerous. And without Victor Olofsson getting hurt, he could have put up some 25 goals. I think that he could have done that fairly easily. He missed a good amount of time. So, good on that. Good on Victor and good on Colorado. I think they're going to be dangerous. I think that they're probably going to come out of the Central. Just my feeling. I think Dallas and Winnipeg probably have something to say about that. I'm not sure Winnipeg can recreate the magic that they did last year, but it was fun to watch that market have a little bit of life again. Dallas is always going to be dangerous, whether or not a Pete DeBoerless Dallas can continue a defensive prowess. They have the defensive, at least they have the blue line to do it. It's all hearsay till it's not. We got to play games, and that's kind of another reason why I kind of slowed down a little bit of the output of these podcasts. I don't want to be this I don't want to put out junk for you, right? I want to make sure that the stuff that we get to talk about has a little bit of meaning and oomph. So, you know what? If that's a little bit less content right now, why things are like small and tapering down and on the quieter side, then so be it. It'll be fun. And you know what? That just means the next time I get to talk to you guys, I'll have more meaningful things to talk about. I don't ever want to, I don't want to become the TMZ of NHL content, but I also definitely don't want to become the TMZ of and the world is falling and all this like rumor boy VGK, because there's plenty of those guys who are in this Vegas Golden Knights sphere, and I just don't want to. I want to put a better foot forward than that. So, with that being said, that is it for me tonight. I appreciate your guys' ears. I appreciate your guys' time. Excuse me, it's been a while. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed what I had to say, please click like. If you enjoyed it so much that you think someone else would like to hear it, please click subscribe and share it to them. And yeah, as always, besos mi amigos. Go Knights.